Second woman has come forward with allegations against Democratic Senator Al Franken. Lindsay Mentz tells CNN that Franken grabbed her buttocks while taking a photo at the Minnesota State Fair in 2010, when Franken was an elected official. In a statement, Franken said he did not remember taking the photo with Mentz and that he felt badly, that she felt disrespected. The new accusation comes just days after radio host Leanne Tweeden accused Franken of forcibly kissing and groping her more than a decade ago. Several senators called for an ethics committee investigation after Tweeden's accusation. Franken agrees with that and says there should be one too. Okay. In a piece for the National Review entitled "Beware of Running with the Al Franken Story, Consider Where That Leads," Douglas Murray writes in part this: every time the definition of rape, abuse, or molestation is brought down another notch, and this new low watermark is agreed on across the political spectrum, the prospect for a different type of harm increases. If we agree for short-term political pleasure that Franken is guilty of serious sexual molestation, for an unfunny photograph taken years ago, and for a sloppy and unwanted pass at a woman, then two things are certain to happen. The first is that the difference between bad manners and rape will become blurred, yet further. Second, this opportunistic process risks embedding the now prevailing narrative of a third-wave feminism, which is that men are all rapists or photo-rapists, and that women in our society tread a constant and violent minefield their entire lives when dealing with the male sex. There are many reasons to be mad at Al Franken, but it doesn't seem wise to allow irritation at him to help fuel a movement intent on making our society madder still. You know, the Al Franken story makes me uncomfortable. That's all I'm going to say at this point, because I don't want to look tribal. And Ruth Marcus writes in her piece for the Washington Post, a perplexing aspect of the current debate involves the question of what should happen to those guilty of misbehavior and the tendency, common to revolutions, to overcorrect for past sins. If society once ignored sexual harassment, and we certainly did, one risk now evident with the case of Senator Al Franken is overcompensating for earlier apathy. Not all crimes deserve the death penalty. Not all bad behavior warrants expulsion, firing, or resignation. The clamor for Franken's head, and Franken is just an example here, is at best premature. Sentence first, trial or Senate Ethics Committee investigation later. At worst, it is alarmingly extreme. I recoil at the employment equivalent of a mass death sentence for all sexual harassers. Must they remain forever pariahs? Is rehabilitation possible? The focus is and should be on victims, but as employers engage in an overdue reckoning on how to rid workplaces of intolerable conduct, we are going to have to wrestle as well with how to treat the victimizers. Do you want another one?
Sure.
Okay. An op-ed for the New York Times entitled "When Our Allies Are Accused of Harassment." Michelle Goldberg writes, personally, I'm torn by competing impulses. I want to see sexual harassment finally taken seriously, but fear participating in a sex panic. My instinct is to often defend men I like, but I don't want to be an enabler or a sucker. Adding to the confusion is the way so many different behaviors are being lumped together. Weinstein's sadistic serial predation isn't comparable to Louis C.K.'s exhibitionism. The groping Franken has been accused of isn't the same moral universe as Moore's alleged sexual abuse of minors. It seems perverse that Franken could be on his way out of the Senate while Moore might be on his way in. Think about that. And I just say, to be transparent, there's tribalism everywhere. I mean, there's tribalism in politics. We're seeing that with Bill Clinton to Roy Moore. There's tribalism that protected Clinton's behavior from the top down and maybe started this entire, or maybe Kennedy started this entire waterfall of behavior, or maybe before. We've been dealing with this for a long time. In the media, the behavior is protected by management, who promote men to power, or women, but men to power who are then given all sorts of passes. So the enablers and the managers who create an environment that allows this, not HR, when you finally go to HR that works for the company. But the environment, the culture needs to change. I remember Kathy the other day talking about maybe people shouldn't go out for drinks, and I was like, totally ransacked on Twitter for saying that. But when you read, the Charlie Rose story, women working at his home. Well, what about really great male associate producers who didn't get an opportunity, by the way? Maybe because Charlie Rose wanted a woman, I don't know the story. But why are they working at his home and sleeping at his home? Why are people going out for drinks? The New York Times reporter who's suspended, everyone's drunk. I mean, I'm sorry, these are not scenarios for the best behavior in all of us to come out. And that is something that needs to be required from the place where you work. This stuff has to stop from the top down. We can't have situations that enable this behavior. Do I sound crazy? Am I going to get savaged on Twitter again today?
No, I don't see why you should get. I mean, I have some reservations about the idea that there can be one set of rules for men doing business and another set of rules for women doing business.
I'm talking about both. Why both?
Because men tend to do business after work. They go out for dinners and they go out for drinks. And I could see some women in senior positions who would then say, well, then I'm not having those opportunities. I'm missing out on the opportunity to do business. And so my career is being hampered because
Kathy, let me clarify. There's going out for lunch, there's going out for coffee, there's maybe going out for an early dinner. Men and women should be able to handle that, obviously. Yeah. But you know what? When two people are sloshed, yes, you know what? Your judgment is impaired.
Right.
Okay? Both men and women. And that has to stop, and that is rampant in the media business. I mean, I've been in this business for 30 years. I go out, I would stop by across the street where everyone would get together after work. Everyone was drunk. I go home. I'm like, this is just not good. But everyone stayed. Probably story ideas came together and a lot of other things too. There's no place for that. Why isn't it okay to say that we don't need to be getting sloshed after work and hooking up?
I think the bigger issue for me about all of this is going to be when it goes beyond industries where there are a few famous people who get outed, whether it's Charlie Rose or Al Franken, and whether actually we can create safe work environments for women who work in restaurants or women who work in hospitals or women who work in post offices or insurance companies where the bosses are not famous. And so no one cares about their name appearing on the front page of the New York Post.
Right.
And that will be, for me, the real transformation. That will be whether this Me Too movement becomes more than just a kind of celebrity moment. And my fear is we don't get there, and those women really have almost no recourse because they are totally financially dependent on their jobs. That manager at work who gives you the shifts, who you have to put up with his lecherous behavior in order to get those shifts, those customers who are a bit drunk, who are kind of, you're dependent on them for your tips. And until we get to that stage, until we get beyond media, until we get beyond politics and we get beyond industries where people are famous, then we haven't really changed the culture. The goal of this is to create, you said it the other day, Mika, safe workplaces for women.
Right.
It's not retribution, it's not vengeance, it's safe workplaces
Safe workplace for women. And so far in the media, we have one executive producer, Yvette Vega, who actually apologizes, saying, you know what, I should have done more. I'd like to hear from some men about maybe doing more about setting up an environment where Peter's not just being Peter, or Charlie's just being Charlie, or name the guy's just being name the guy. No, actually,
and you have to put up with
they can't work at your house.
Quite rightly, there are a whole group of young women who want to advance their careers.
Exactly.
And they will put up and put themselves in positions where they afterwards then feel terrible. I mean, the poor woman in Alabama who felt
just doesn't have to be
for years.
And then now think about Al Franken. Like, I'm just not comfortable with this. I don't want to step on a mine and say that behavior or that picture is acceptable. It's not. But is it the same? And by the way, I do these, book tours with Joe, and we do like pictures with 1,000 people. Am I allowed to say how many times my butt has been grabbed? I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying
By the way, with me right there. And I put, it's like...
And you got a protective guard.
No, he literally had to pull the hand off my butt.
Sometimes it slides down.
Is that a sex crime? Where are we?
I think that...
By the way, hold on, but you're not saying that's okay. But
no, believe me, I didn't like it.
It's
not enjoying it.
It's not okay, but at the same time, again, you talked about being tribal. What's interesting, Kathy, is you have the National Review, a very conservative outlet, saying Al Franken doesn't deserve the death penalty. You have Michelle Goldberg at the New York Times saying the same thing. And there have been a lot of conservatives I saw on Twitter yesterday saying the same thing. Like, with Al Franken, are we jumping the shark? So this seems to be a case that is not tribal. A lot of conservative thought leaders and a lot of Democrats are starting to say.
But I'm also wondering whether there aren't a lot of men who. Obviously, this is made terribly uncomfortable. And I will say here,
it's so
the vast
uncomfortable.
majority of men had no idea of the scale of this because they don't do it and it doesn't happen to them. They are, decent, honest, respectable men who would never do this. It doesn't happen to them, so they had no idea. And I think that's been a big gender divide that's been revealed by this story. The thing about the Al Franken story, I don't know about this one, and, he did stick his tongue, allegedly, forcibly, in somebody's mouth. If that was proven to be the case, what message, if he doesn't go, does that send to other potential people who might do that?
Be proven to be the case?
Well, I don't know how. Because I guess you have.
I guess it's just us. We're the judge, the jury, and the cops, and the accusers are too.
Or you wait and see how the story develops and if there are other incidents that's emerged.
Your question about degrees of this is one we talked about when Donnie was here on Friday as well, and it's a conversation I've had for the last couple of weeks with women. How do you feel about this? Is Al Franken, or when you say Al Franken, it becomes protecting the Democrats. So let's say politician X doing what he did, in the same boat. Should his picture be on the same graphic on TV with Harvey Weinstein, who now we know is a serial predator and an alleged rapist and all these things that he's been accused of? Should they both be run out of public life? Should they both be thrown off the stage? And the answer I've gotten from most women is no.
Right.
And that, to your point, Mika, does not excuse the first behavior.
It's all
It says
bad.
those are both gross, and if somebody did that, I would report it, and I don't like it.
And we're
but do I
finally
think
here.
he's a pariah and should have his life ruined and thrown out? And again, I'm not just talking about Al Franken, I'm talking about the degrees of the kind of sexual harassment and assault we've been talking about.
And we had a very honest conversation last Friday where one man on the set said what every man knows, and that is that the way they treated women 20 and 30 years ago is completely different than the way they act around women now. Behaviors have changed. Behaviors have evolved in a positive direction. Gene Robinson, there are some really big questions here, though, and I'm going to go to the media story because I really think that if we're going to have an honest conversation, we got to be able to talk about ourselves. And this Charlie Rose story is horrible. My dad played tennis with Charlie Rose. I picked up the tennis balls and threw it at my dad and Charlie.
I've been on his show.
I've known him for 30 years. I'm horrified by these stories. I'm also horrified by the scenarios that were allowed within the CBS and the PBS community for people to be working in homes and in hotel rooms for him, younger women. In the age of Peter Jennings, in the age of Mark Halperin, I'll say it, who is no longer on the show and his career is completely erased, finished, ended, period, end of story. I want to know where the Yvette Vegas of ABC are. I want to know where these people in the age of Peter who Mark worked for and learned from, I want to know where these people are and why we aren't hearing about the management structure.
You bring up Peter Jennings, and I just want to bring this up. It was fascinating that when he died, and I was watching his basically, I don't know what you'd call it, but a lot of his friends put together something and they were mourning him. But there were always these jokes about Peter. Well, Peter's just being Peter, just like Charlie was just being Charlie.
Right.
And and so that's everybody joked back 20, 30 years ago in the media about Peter being Peter. Well, that's what Donnie was saying last week. What happened 30 and 20 years ago does not happen now, or should not happen now.
It certainly should not happen now, and I think we really are going through a kind of paradigm shift now, and I think it'll probably, I certainly hope it'll happen less in the future. The Charlie Rose situation is interesting because he worked for, we know him through these big institutions, PBS, CBS, Bloomberg, but he owned his own company. He was the boss. He was the guy, and the big major national institutions that took his show and used his services don't seem to have been at all curious about what was happening inside his little production unit, and I think that's one lesson that in that sort of subcontracting situation, it's important to know there should have been more of that kind of oversight, because obviously there were rumors, there was this sort of buzz. Everyone seemed to have known that Charlie was being Charlie. The other thing is that I think we can pretty much all agree that all sexual harassment is deplorable, but
yes.
It's not all identical. It's there are different, I don't know if you'd say different degrees or different kinds, but it's not all the same, and I think we can kind of work through this. One of the factors that really makes conduct more egregious is the pattern. And so when I read the story about the New York Times reporter who's been suspended, the first time through the story, I was like, well, there's a bunch of people that are out, they're all drunk. How do you exactly gauge this? And then when you get to the fact that there seems to have been a pattern of young women
right.
knowing that there was a kind of predatory behavior,
yeah.
then that takes it to a new level.
Well, and I will just say, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to. Yvette Vega at CBS, thank you for your apology. You should be promoted for your honesty. You should not be fired, because for every Yvette Vega out there, there are 7, 10, maybe 20 men managers who have not come forward to say that they enabled this behavior, protected it, and allowed it to thrive.
No, also,
I find it so fascinating
also women managers.
Absolutely.
In other networks.
But I mean, I've
this.
spoken to several of, I've talked to a lot of victims of sexual harassment. I am one myself. I am one in more ways than you'll ever know, and maybe I'll share one day. But at this point, the accusers that I've been talking to, for example, in the case of Mark Halperin, 4 or 5 women, there are people at ABC that they went to, they say. Can I have their names, please? No, they're my friends. That's not acceptable. If we're going to have complete transparency, if we're going to completely change the culture, we can't just go after the people we don't like. We have to go after the entire culture. And I appreciate, at least in retrospect, this executive producer coming forward and saying, I messed up. At least someone did.
And
happens to be
Mika,
a woman.
I know you're trying to go, but in this Charlie story, it's worse than that. Someone who did speak up and tell other people was fired.
Right.
Was relieved
Yeah.
from her
Right.
job because
You think that's the
next
first
step.
time that's happened?
And someone was prevented from getting a
All
job
right.
for the same reason.
And we're going to have Ruth Marcus on at 8:30, whose op-ed we read. It was in Sunday's Washington Post. And that's where she's talking about the death penalty.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how do you sort through this. And she's saying what you've been saying, which is we got to have a discussion. If it's just going to be the French Revolution and everybody's head's going to get chopped off the second somebody says something, then this ends very badly for everybody. But Ruth's talking about what you're talking about, which is having a conversation and figuring out how we work through this.
And I want to hear from these men. I want to hear from these managers. I think we're in a really, really, really good place. Something really good could happen here if we don't overstep.
All right. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.